Hello, MTA runners. This is Jennifer Giles again, MTA running coach and triathlon coach, and I'm also a sports nutritionist. So today we are going to talk about one of my favorite topics, and that is, do you eat to run or do you run to eat? Very interesting question, and one I ask almost all of my athletes because it's all about how you view fueling for your run. So I'm going to share my screen with you, and we're going to go through and talk about this a little bit. So what I first want you to do is ask yourself, do you eat to run or do you run to eat? Now, many of us actually fall into the mindset where we run to eat, right? And I find all these funny quotes, and believe it or not, I laugh just as hard at them as anyone else does because they're funny. One of them, the bottom right-hand corner, says, I run because I really like food. There's nothing more honest about that. And I think as runners, we have a little extra wiggle room because we know we're burning through stores really quickly and frequently on a daily basis. So we can eat a little bit more, or so we think. I love this one, the running burgers and beer, because it equates running different distances with how many burgers and beers you can have. So if running a 5K, you can have 1.5 beers. Running a 10K, you can have a burger and 2 beers. So might as well go run a 10K, right? Half marathon, that's not such a big deal. You could eat a burger, fries, and 4 beers. That's even better. And then a marathon, you can really go overboard. 3 burgers, 2 fries, and 4 beers. And I think a lot of us think of running as an excuse to eat food, or think of eating as, I'm burning through it anyway, so I might as well eat a little bit extra. We see t-shirts all over the place. I run for wine, or I run for donuts, or it's another quote here. The top left is, I run because I love my body and donuts. I love donuts, which is pretty funny. Rungry, I love that term because you're so hungry from after a long run that you just want to eat all the food. And I love this text exchange too. What do you think about during a long run? And most of the time we actually are thinking about what we're going to eat when we're done, right? So cupcakes and food and life, but mostly food because our mind's always spinning and food tends to pop in there. And as runners, it's just how it goes. But today's discussion is about how you think about fueling and how you think about fueling for your run specifically. Okay, so here's a performance nutrition assessment. And whether you take a piece of paper right now and just jot down all these pinpoints here, I want you to think about each one, and I want you to think about each one seriously and honestly, as if you do each one of these things always, sometimes, or not enough. And what that will create for you is a list of things you need to prioritize to make changes, continue to do really well, or focus a little bit more, and maybe set them as goals for yourself. So let's start with the first one. Eat breakfast as soon as possible. So as soon as you wake up, do you think about eating breakfast? Or are you one of those people that has a cup of coffee and can go to work and not eat for an extended period after that? A lot of these bullet points actually on this assessment also, you need to take into account whether you're a morning runner, a noontime runner, or an evening runner. That will have a big effect on a lot of these also. So just take that into account. But do you eat breakfast always, sometimes, or not enough? And maybe that's something that you need to work on. If you don't eat breakfast, maybe you're doing it really well, so you don't have to worry about that, and you move on to the next one. And the next one being, do you start drinking water immediately when you wake up? And it doesn't have to be on the bedside table before you get out of bed, but is it the first fluid that you take in, or is a cup of coffee the first fluid that you take in? And are you prioritizing hydration, or are you not really thinking about it until after you run when you're really thirsty? And do you do it not only first thing in the morning, but throughout the day? So a lot of us don't really think about hydration until we get really thirsty. But if we're thinking about it beforehand, then we don't really get to that point where we're dehydrated and it affects our run. So it ends up being really important. Okay. So again, just check off always, sometimes, or not enough. And this is going to turn into a list of things that you're good at and a list of things that you need to work on. Do you plan meals and snacks throughout the day? Because the runner who is prepared is the runner who sticks with a fueling plan that works. And that's important because as soon as you're not prepared, that's the time when you stop at fast food for something that's not healthy. And that's the time where you reach for the chips instead of the apple because you're just not planning and it's not there. If you have it in the house, it's going to happen. Or if you have it as part of your day plan brought with you, it's going to happen. Do you balance your plate? We're going to talk about this in a little bit more detailed in a couple minutes. But do you balance your plate with protein, carbohydrates, and fat every meal? And do you focus the lean protein and vegetables first? We're going to talk about that a little bit more too. And do you really think about that at all? Or do you just say, I'm going to have a chicken sandwich? Or I'm going to have a hamburger? Or are you thinking about how many fruits and vegetables you're getting in every meal? Are you thinking about how many fruits and vegetables you're getting in the whole day? Are you thinking about, is there lean protein every time I'm eating? Or is that even crossing your mindset at all? Are you thinking about how many grains I'm getting in and how many carbohydrates is this going to fuel my run? Or are you just thinking, I'm really hungry and I'm going to eat whatever's in front of me? All of those things are super important. They're things that you should be mindful of. They're things that you should be concerned about. And if you're not, just check the box, and that's something we can work on. Okay. Do you think about fueling your run beforehand? So about 1 to 3 hours before a run, are you thinking about how this food is going to affect my run? Or are you just kind of eating mindlessly and I'm going to run when I'm going to run? Sometimes this is a little bit more important for people who have some GI upset during running, and they have to think about it more. So it's actually a benefit of having GI upset. Some people just have stomachs of iron and can eat whatever they want, so they don't really need to think about this short term. But in the long term, it's so important to think about what you're eating beforehand and how it's going to affect your run, because it's going to affect how well you run, how fast you run, how long you can run for, and how you feel during those runs, for sure. Okay, next, do you include good fats regularly in your diet? Basically every day. Do you have good fats that are going to help with recovery and help with energy throughout the day? Do you even know what good fats are? That's another question. Some people just don't know. If you're one of those people who don't know, put a checkbox on. So that's something you need to work on. Do you eat at least 2 fruits and 3 veggies every day? And I'll give you a little hint. Really, more and more research is coming out, and it's been repeated over the last 10 to 15 years, that the magic number for fruits and vegetables for total health, not only run performance, but total health, is 9. So whether that's 4 fruits and 5 veggies or vice versa, 9 fruits and vegetables a day is going to decrease blood pressure, decrease cholesterol levels, have a decreased risk of cardiovascular disease, but it also can help our performance, because all of those micronutrients and those antioxidants and different properties that are in fruits and vegetables that aren't in other foods are creating such a health benefit to our bodies that it's that important. And how many times do you go through a day where you don't eat a fruit or vegetable? It's probably pretty often. It's very common. But I'll give you a quick example because I think it's this important, is say if you had a banana for breakfast right off the bat, and you threw some spinach leaves in your protein shake. There's 2, and that's only breakfast. And then for lunch, you have a side of a mixed salad with whatever your lunch is, with, obviously maybe some, say it's a kale salad because it's a little more nutritious than a regular salad. So chopped kale, diced red bell peppers, some red onion if you like red onions, and some black beans in that salad. So now we're up to 6 already, and it's just midday. And then dinner, you only have really 3, afternoon snack, grab an apple, right, 7. And then dinner, you only have 2 more veggies to throw in. So if you had, say, broccoli and cauliflower roasted together, there's 9, done. You didn't have to think so much. I love salads, and maybe even a quinoa salad, because you can dice a lot of different vegetables in there and you can get your vegetable servings in that way. Smoothies are also a really easy way to do that. But I want you to start thinking about that. So many days go by and we don't eat any, or maybe we just eat 1, and we don't think about boosting our nutrition with fruits and veggies the way we could. And we could definitely run faster and better and stronger and recover faster and better if we do that. Okay, moving on. Maximizing recovery nutrition. I have another webinar about recovery nutrition, so I won't talk too much about this. But A, do you know what recovery nutrition is? And if you don't, I think you should watch the recovery webinar. And B, do you practice it every day, after every run, consistently? And do you view your fueling and your recovery as an important part of your training? That's huge. Do you include 2 to 3 high calcium sources every day? And that could be obviously milk, yogurt, cheese, dark green leafy vegetables. And if you do that, you're going to have a decreased risk of stress fractures and any kind of bone injuries, which are very common in runners. And that's why I have that on here, because it is something we want to highlight. Do you bring snacks with you during the day? Again, this is part of planning. Do you have stuff in your gym bag? Do you have stuff at your office? Do you have healthy food in your home? And if you're going to go out to a meeting or out shopping for 6 hours, do you have snacks with you so you don't fall prey to fast foods or junk food? Use supplements wisely. So do you use supplements at all? Do you use supplements that are safe for sport? Do you use supplements that are going to help your body or hurt your body? Supplements, I know, is a gray area for some, and you want to make sure you're smart about it. Limit alcohol intake. So alcohol is something that's part of our lives, and it can hurt our training if we're not balancing it properly. It can hurt our body composition if we're not balancing it properly. And it obviously can hurt our hydration levels if we're not balancing it properly. So we want to limit it, or at least be smart about it. Think of diet as an integral part of your athletic potential. So this is mindset again. So do you feel like diet is going to help your performance, or do you think it doesn't really play a role? That's an individual answer, but that's an important part of this fueling mindset. And do you prioritize sleep? So sleep's not really anything to do with nutrition, but what it can do is it helps us process the nutrition that we eat during the day and helps us recover for the next day. So while we don't think of sleep as anything to do with nutrition, it actually is a time where we're processing a lot of these nutrients and making our body stronger and better. Okay, so knowledge is power. So I once heard a biochemist say that basically from week to week, our entire physical being is different, because every cell in our body turns over. Some turn over faster than others by the end of a week's time. So today's Wednesday. By next Wednesday, my entire physical being will be different, which is kind of a strange thought. And that's because there's so much cell turning over. So much cell turnover happening on a consistent basis. And as runners, we're actually turning over cells a little faster than non-runners, or non-athletes, I should say, because we have a lot of breakdown. We have like muscle tears. Every time you go out for a run, you're tearing down little muscle fibers in your muscle tissue. And it's actually a good thing, not a bad thing. If we tear it down a little bit and we rebuild, that's how you become stronger after every run. That's what training is all about. There's also inflammation. Inflammation is actually a good thing also. When we're running, we create some total body inflammation. And afterwards, when we're recovering, we decrease that inflammation. And again, that makes us stronger, faster, better runners. Same thing with bone matrix. So just like muscle tears occur, bone matrix breaks down. And this is why runners tend to have really high bone density, because your muscle matrix breaks down during running. And then because of the nutrients that we're eating, it builds up. Now, the interesting part is if you don't have the underlying nutrients, which is also known as eating properly and well-balanced and nutrient dense, then those cells will not be able to turn over as efficiently as they could if you were eating well-balanced, high nutrient dense foods. This cell right here is my favorite cell. It's an energy-producing cell. It's called a mitochondria, and it's what happens when we train. So we're training, and physically what's happening is we're building mitochondria in our body that is going to produce energy. And when you produce more energy, you're going to put out more energy. When we put out more energy, we're going to, guess what? Run faster, run longer, feel stronger. And that's the whole purpose of training. So if the whole purpose of training is to get better, and we don't have the underlying nutrients to turn over our cells to get better, then we're missing, there's a missing link here. We can't get better without the underlying nutrients underneath in order to turn over those cells. So now that you have that knowledge, if you didn't have that before, if you didn't realize that before, now you know how important nutrition is to your biochemical basis, which turns into running performance. It's huge for athletes. So I really want to kind of hammer that home. So hopefully this knowledge that you have can change your mindset a little bit. And there's certain things that you can do to help that mindset along. And that is, I've said this before, but have healthy food available. Just have it. shop for it, make a plan for it, whether it's every Sunday night, go to the grocery store and stock up, or whether it's order your groceries online so you have them delivered, whatever's easiest for you. If you have it in the house or if you have it around you, you're going to eat it. If you don't have it, you're not going to eat it. It's really that simple, but we don't think of it that way. We think, oh yeah, but we're too busy. I'm just going to, a couple more days until I get to the grocery store. But a couple more days, now you're missing some strength and some endurance that you could have built through nutrition very easily. I tell my youth runners, would you ever show up to a cross-country practice without your shoes in your gym bag? And they're like, shoes? No, never. And then I say, well, did you show up to practice without a snack beforehand in your gym bag or a recovery snack afterwards? And they're like, yeah, all the time. I want you to, your mindset should be that nutrition is a piece of equipment. It's something that you can't go to practice without, or in our case as adult runners, you cannot plan a run without planning a nutritionist snack before and after. It's that important. Okay, so balance nutrients at each meal and throughout the day. We're going to talk about this specifically in a second, but balancing all these nutrients is the key. So you don't want to do too many of the same foods on the same day, and we get stuck in this rut. You also don't want to do too many of the same foods or same meals over and over again, because your body gets used to that and it just doesn't process the nutrients as well. So we want to make sure everything is balanced and that it reflects the running that you're doing that day or the training that you're doing that day. This is a big one for me, the next one. Perfection doesn't exist. So many people say, well, I can't be perfect. I can't give up cake or whatever it is that they love, so I'm not going to do anything at all. Then I just want to hammer this one home too, that there is no perfect diet. There is no one perfect diet for everyone. There is a really solid diet for each person that can help them achieve their goals and become better runners and become healthier people. And that's what it is. And if it means that you have chocolate cake every once in a while, then that's fine with me. It's just most of the time you have to be pretty good to get the results that you want. This next one is my favorite. Focus your intake on foods that you enjoy. So basically, if I tell you to drink beet juice before you go on your long run, and beet juice makes you gag and you can't stand it, you're not going to eat beet juice. You're not going to drink beet juice. And that's not going to work for you, and you're probably going to find something else and that maybe is less healthy. There's enough healthy foods out there that each person can like and enjoy. So focus on those, because then actually eating is an enjoyable thing, and you're going to look forward to these foods if they're foods that you enjoy and that satisfy you. So that's key. Take out all the foods you don't like and focus on the ones you do like. And there's enough healthy ones that you can choose from. I promise you that. Vegetables are your friends. Just like I said, those micronutrients in vegetables and fruits. Veggies tend to be, you can eat more of them, that you can eat more volume of vegetables and fruits because of the calories that they hold. But they're your friend, and they have so many more nutrients than most other foods do. So I want you to get used to eating, or try to aim for that crazy number 9. That sounds crazy, but it's not really crazy if you think about it. And if you can get there, I guarantee you're going to feel better and perform better. Your carbohydrate intake should reflect your training cycle. So on a month or two that you're building up to marathon distance and you're running a couple 18, 19, 20 milers, your carbohydrate intake needs to increase because you're burning through those frequently. And you need to prepare for that long run. You need to fuel the day of the long run, and you need to recover the day after. So for 3 days in that week cycle, your carbohydrate is going to be elevated. In the off season, or when you're taking time down, or you're cross training a little bit and you're not doing high intensity workouts, your carbohydrate intake doesn't need to be that high. So always throughout the year, throughout your race season, throughout recovery weeks or build weeks, your nutrition needs to reflect your training. And that's key. I think sometimes people just eat the same all the time, and then they expect their bodies to work better because they're training more. But when your nutrition isn't matching your training, then you're not going to perform as well as you could. Okay, so these next 3 slides are great. They're actually put out by the U.S. Olympic Committee, USOC, and they're on their website if you want to check them out too. but this is a good reflection of what I'm talking about. On easy training days, and for us, this would be, you know, a cross training day or a yoga day or an off day. You really want half your plate to be fruits and vegetables. And this is, you know, 3 to 4 meals a day, including and maybe a snack or two also. Less than a quarter of your plate should be grains, carbohydrates, and about a quarter of your plate should be lean proteins. And then a little sliver of that plate could be healthy fats. So this is reflecting your easy workout day. You don't need a lot of carbohydrates there. You're getting some carbs in your fruits and vegetables, yes, but you don't need a lot of carbohydrates from grains on days where you're not really running hard or long. As opposed to a moderate training day where you can see the ratio that changes. So we decreased our fruits and vegetables a little bit. We're still getting carbs there, but we increased our grains a little bit. So this is a higher volume of carbohydrate in grains. And then we've kept our protein the same. Fats in this case would come alongside of the other foods. For example, you have peanut butter, which is a protein. It has fat in it. So it's considered both lean proteins and healthy fats. And then we're going to switch over here to hard training days where your grains, and this would be, you know, a longer run, 10, 12, 14 miles and above. Hard training days, we're going to need to consume many more carbohydrates from grains, half your plate now. And you can throw in a handful of vegetables and fruits and keep protein the same. So see how protein kind of stays the same all the time, and we're shifting where our carbohydrates are coming from and where nutrients are coming from. So this is a good visual of really how your eating is supposed to reflect your training. Okay, so if we kind of put everything that we just talked about into practice and we change our mindset from the really funny and you can still joke around about it all you want, because I do too, from the run to eat philosophy to an eat to run philosophy, and really view nutrition as a way to fuel your running and your performance, then you're actually going to start to feel like this guy. You're going to have a lot more energy. Your runs are going to be a lot better. You're going to be stronger. You're going to be faster. Your body will probably be leaner, because this is also a guiding point to improving body composition when you're eating better and you're burning fuels more efficiently. And it's not only a better way to train, because now you're going to get more out of your training, but it's just a better way to live, because overall you're going to be a healthier person as well. All right, so I hope this all made sense for you, and I really wanted to thank you for joining me. Here we go, unshare. And as always, if you have any questions or anything at all, you can reach out to me and ask. And go ahead and fuel your run today. All right, happy running. Bye-bye.